I gotta be repping the company I talk the most crap on. All right, so now is it proper?
Yeah, you're good now.
Is it proper now?
Yeah,
so I get to see, you know, I'm a fanboy, even though I am so critical of this company. There is a reason why we probably will not do a video on specifically anytime soon.
I've played that. It's very nice, but I've also played $2,500 Les Pauls in Guitar Center that I like this one better. So
well, you know, here's the problem with Guitar Center. It's an oven. Their guitars are sitting in an oven, okay?
Yeah.
Have you ever been on you've probably never been on a ladder at the top row of a Guitar Center before, have you?
No.
Dude, I swear to God, it's a full 20 degrees hotter up there. And guess where all the nice guitars go?
up top.
Up top. And that's why, like, that's another video we could do. Why is Guitar Center pretty much set to fail?
Yeah. Why does it suck?
Moving on to a company that I not only really respect, but I've never seen them cut corners. I've never seen Orange ever cut a single corner in what they're doing. I've never seen them go, oh, if we do this, it will make more money, so we should do that. They always look at their product and go, you know, if it ain't right, it ain't right.
Yeah.
If it ain't right, it ain't right. And there's not a single Orange product that I've
Even if it's Chinese made, it's still, if it ain't right, it ain't right.
They're made by hand in China.
Yeah.
A human being put all these amps together, because here we have an original Tiny Terror, which is not what this video is about, but this is actually one of the original. I think this one's an 04.
And it sounds really cool.
It's completely different too. A vastly different circuit. And then the ORs, I believe this was actually going to be China. I believe they've actually been making these in Korea recently, but same process, same exact everything. A lot of the Chinese factories are changing. They're flipping things around to update a lot of factories in China and Korea.
Updating.
So basically, here in the next decade, we should be getting some crazy cool builds out of those out of the Chinese and Korean and Indonesian market. We should be getting better stuff. But the OR15, it is a little slice of the Rockerverb and Overdriven series. And it's
the best of both worlds.
It really is. As single channel amps go, it still has all the versatility that we need, and completely tube driven in Class A, what's Class A? Do you know what Class A means? It's a very tricky concept.
I don't actually know what that means.
So Class A just simply means that it's the shortest signal path that we could possibly get, and the biasing of the circuit is as peak as we want it to be at all times.
See, we learn things.
So basically, with something that would be Class A or Class AB, it is simply a very short distance that the instrument passes through, which translates to a much more organic sound to our ears. Again, organic. That's a buzzword and a half there.
Gluten-free.
So that would have been the
gluten-free amplifier. So the history of the OR15 came out in 2012. They are still currently making it.
Which I'm still having an identity crisis about that. I thought this amp came out way sooner. I swear I thought this amp was earlier than 2012, but I mean, the internet doesn't lie, right?
I mean, technically the OR has been around forever, but so it's originally based on the Overdrive, which was some of the original amplifiers that Orange made in the 1970s to 1976-ish, from what I've seen on Reverb and the internet. And originally, it either said Overdrive on the bottom here, or it didn't actually say anything at all. It just had Orange. And it was picks only. It was hieroglyphics, as you see. Volume is just a speaker that goes, rah. And then gain, it's a little edgy, you know, it goes up. So as you turn it up, you get more gain.
And do you know why they did that? Do you know why they actually did that in the past?
I don't, actually.
Because they wanted to be one of the first international brands. They wanted no matter what culture,
no matter what language you spoke, you could understand it.
Because it's hieroglyphics.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And the coolest thing about the OR15 is it is a picks only versus the older Tiny Terror. This is another cool reason to have the other amp out.
It has the picks and
words, which is very common in the between 2005 and 2013-ish, in that time period, like the Rockerverb MK2. My least favorite Rockerverb of the series.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that great.
Well, it was a very, like, they put a lot of attention into the clean and the reverb.
Yeah, it was more muddy on the gain.
Which was crazy, because when I first tried an OR15, I was actually concerned that it would remind me of the gain structure of some of the looser models, which, if you're playing classic rock, the Rockerverb MK2 is amazing. I mean, it just works. But what's cool about the OR15 is if I want that, like, lower gain territory, I can simply do that by changing settings on the amp. I can actually go in here and bring this down. And as the gain goes up, it's actually increasing the staging of the gain itself.
Correct.
So it's a very interactive gain knob.
And a little bit more history here. The OR, the original versions, were used by illustrious people such as my favorite person, Jimmy Page.
The man himself.
The man himself. And he still, to this day, uses Orange. And he uses a custom 50 now, which is basically an original overdrive.
Did you know that Orange was actually owned by Gibson for a while?
I did know that.
Yeah, and the craziest part, I mean, unless you know, do you know what they did when they bought Orange?
I know they bought Orange and the products were a little bit less quality, which is kind of...
Well, that's the funny story, because it depends on who you ask, and if you know, but if you actually get your hands on a Gibson production model AD30, it is not like an original AD30, but they made it with all the parts. Gibson went in and bought everything Orange had left. So every shell, every tube, every capacitor, every resistor, everything. They bought all the parts that they had and built that first 5 to 10 years. Well, I think they only had them for about maybe 10 to 12 years. There was a very short-lived time before Orange was reacquired back by its original owners. But those amps were made with those original parts. So some of those Gibson era Oranges are really cool.
They are cool, but they're missing the magic of Cliff, the original owner. So
missing that, yes, and they were very Marshall sounding to me. A lot of the stuff I've heard from that era. So, you know, history on the Orange products. You know, the OR series was originally introduced in the 70s, and the OR15 came about in 2012, apparently.
Yeah, as a continuation.
All right, so, well, I'm going to talk about the clean side, and you can go ahead and kind of go over some gain.
Yeah.
So, basically, we didn't actually talk about our signal chain, so we're going to start there with this one. So I'm actually demoing the OR15 through my first thing is the Gibson SG made in 2006. I have a Ernie Ball volume tuner pedal, and this thing is so cool. I mean, if you can see it on camera, like here we are at 5, and then we go all the way up to 7, all the way to 10, and then when it's off, it's a tuner. That is just so incredible. I have
no buttons required.
No buttons required. Well, it's a touchscreen. You can actually program it in the beginning. You can make it so it's always a tuner.
That is really cool.
Yeah, you can even program it to where it cuts off a certain number. So so all the way down isn't actually.
You sure are gonna make me spend all my money.
Yeah, they have a yellow one now. They have a yellow volume tuner. It's cool. All right, so after that I have the Haunting Mids. Now, for a lot of you that don't know what the Haunting Mids is, the Haunting Mids is essentially if you were to take a EQ pedal with not very many options and a tube screamer and kind of took features from both of them but did not keep them the same way they are, that would be this pedal. What I use it for is a little bit of boost to the front end of the amp, and then I shape the mid-range and increase it. So basically I tame its overall harshness, but I also increase it so my guitar sits a little bit better in the mix. To kind of show you what that does, here. So it just adds clarity that I'm going to need. Crisp is good.
Yeah.
Yes, crisp.
Yeah, it's crisp. And it almost sounds like it adds more gain, but it doesn't really.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, it's funny that you say that. So when we refer to a tube screamer type circuit, the mid frequencies actually excite the vacuum tubes. They do things that the vacuum tubes are looking for, and that's kind of sort of what the mid range does on this one. It is exciting that in, but I can control it. You know, when I hit a TS9 on, I get TS9.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing. There's no way around that.
Wall.
You know, it is what it is. But with this, I can just add that subtlety. It's definitely not the pedal for people who don't really like. You know, someone likes to hear the pedal do what it's doing. Somebody really insists on, this is not an effect. It doesn't do enough. You may not be listening clear enough, or you could be tone deaf. Tone deaf is a thing.
It is a thing.
But you know, I've got the amplifier, as we say, balls to the wall. But now, I want this to calm down. It's a single channel amp, no clean channel, but I need a clean channel. We'll check this out. Let me just increase my volume pedal. So now that I've got a cleaner sound going here, I can start activating my modulate pedals. Let's hear a little bit of chorus, which I have the CE2W by Boss, the Wazacraft version, not the original, sorry, but I still love it.
Waza.
Waza. The Levitation by Earthquaker, which is a very fancy spring reverb.
Oh, that's pretty.
It is. It just has a very classic yet not classic sound to it.
One of those terms, classy.
It is classic. Well, yeah, chill box like a chorus, and then we've got, of course, the afternoon, which I'm not going to use other than this one demonstration. All right, we've heard enough of that, and I'm probably not going to use my delay either, but y'all can hear it. All right, so that's my signal path. Real quick here, and this is how I get a clean channel out of a single channel amp. So
very nice.
It works very well. One thing I will say is if your band is incredibly loud, doing this is a bit of a chore. You have to make sure that the dynamics of your band can follow if you're going to roll, as what I've always called it. I've heard other people call it. We're either using the volume on the guitar itself to cut the gain, or we're using a volume pedal. We're rolling it in and out to get the level of gain we want. Other products actually allow you to control the gain knob with the expression, which is really cool too. So that's how I'm rocking.
It's a very old school way of doing things too.
So that's how I use the OR15. Cody, show us how you use the OR15.
Now, I personally like a little bit more gain,
as we're about to hear.
So let's do some gainy. Yeah, buddy. Yes.
Okay, now before you do that, show us with the precision drive on and off real quick.
Oh yes, let's do that.
And also I might add, Cody is playing out of my third power 3x12 with Celestion G12Hs.
I should add, this beautiful guitar right here, this beautiful beast, is a Tagima Classic Series made in Brazil. And I mean, it's just a beautiful work of art. It belongs on a wall somewhere. So this is without the Horizon Overdrive. It's a little bit more meaty, a little bit more ballsy. And then let's turn it back on. Yeah, so this is what I like to use the OR for, is some high gain, overdriven, balls to the wall, heavy metal. And it does that very well.
So I'm going to go ahead and give everybody an example of, I don't need this amp to be high gain, but I have it, and I need it to be clean now.
And this is the Jimmy Page type vibe going on.
Yeah, it like I said, as we increase the gain, we actually add tube gain staging, so we can use that for volume. So basically, dime out your volume knob. Just put this volume knob all the way up and start using
all the way up.
Start using the gain as your volume, and you will maintain a clean channel. And if I'll turn the haunting mids off real quick. You can hear how suddenly my clean just disappears a tiny bit. Bring it back in. Let's put the volume pedal up a little bit, so we're going to make it a little bit cleaner. It's definitely not a Fender clean, but that's not what we're looking for here. It's definitely not that Fender clean. Okay, yeah, so
that is true.
Now I did bust out the effects in my pedal board. Now I didn't mention anything beyond the hunting mids a second ago because everything else is running in the effects loop of my OR15, which is driven by a 12A T7. Doesn't get any cooler than that. I really love the way it sounds. I think solid state effects loops sound awesome too, but the effects loop inside this amplifier just really comes in where you need it to.
All right, the Edge. You too, everybody.
It sounds, it just sounds right in the effects loop, and you know, I always get concerned. I've seen 6505 pluses come by that just don't have a very good effects loop to them. The Frankenstein Plus that I use on a lot of projects right over there, which apparently the internet's asking about those. I mean, not us, but other YouTubers are getting asked about it. Maybe we'll make that a video.
And we will probably do that.
We'll have to probably do a video on that because we actually have one here. And,
might break out the Flying V for that.
Shout out to Jeff for letting us hold on to that. I appreciate you, bud. And you know, the effects loop on the Crank Series amp is just terrible. It's one of the worst effects loops I've ever heard. It might be designed for rack gear. Rack gear does take signal differently than guitar pedals, but I'm really not sure. Maybe a video on effects loops might be a good idea because I am an effects loop nerd. So here we go.
As we can tell.
Yeah.
Me, I'm pretty simple. You know, one pedal. Yeah. And before we wrap this up, I want to do what Brennan did.
Yeah, go for it.
And let's do a little experimentation here. Let's bump this up, and...
Are you still going to rock the Horizon?
Yes, we are going to rock the Horizon, and I just have a little bit of drive on there. Most of the clarity is coming from the volume turned all the way up, so... Now that's that Fender chimey that you were looking for.
You know, I've always said Fender amps kind of have a chime to them, and I've had, you know, elders in the world of guitar correct me and say Fenders are not chimey. Fenders are full and bassy.
Well, I mean,
it's the
yes.
British circuits, the Voxes, the Oranges, the... Yeah, without the right pedal format, I don't think I could get a Fender amplifier to do that.
Yeah.
Just by itself, you know.
Yeah, and it sounds just fucking amazing. It really does.
So, yeah, and even Orange did the tremolo circuit, which is one of my favorite amps they've done. I wish they make a head because I don't like combos. That amplifier has the low-end presence that I would expect out of an American circuit, but it has all of that chime. It has that type of sound that you don't really get right out of the box from a Fender.
Right.
So, but, you know, Fenders are known for being clean anytime we hear something clean. If you are looking for a great recording amp, if you're looking for something that will deliver a realistic, you know...
And it delivers.
I don't like this term, but it gets thrown around a lot, which is boutique. Boutique to me...
Yeah, we were talking about that last night.
That is not rock and roll. Like, what, you know, I think...
Boutique.
You know,
it makes you want to pull out your monocle and, you know...
Give it a look, you know? Like, it... To me, boutique is a bad word. I don't like to use it. However, in the 90s, we did get an explosion in that market where people were buying small batch. I like the word small batch better. I like the idea of something having more attention to it because typically those amplifiers have this.
They sound better. They're full. It's round.
And they respond to play dynamics in such a cool way. We really don't have to break the bank to get that world. In fact, you know, there are many, many circuit board amps. Yes, this is a circuit board amp. Practically everything behind me, minus these two here, are circuit board amps, meaning that we have taken a computer type setup, we've made a circuit board, and then we've by hand finished the job. If we were to make some of these really crazy 4-channel amplifiers by hand, they'd be the size of cars.
Yeah.
Because the parts have to be so big.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're able to take all these years of development these great builders have done over the years, and Aid, the designer at Orange, is one of the best in the business. But we're able to take
his
what they've
YouTube
done.
is wonderful.
Yeah, his YouTube channel. Yeah, anything he does on the Orange YouTube, I always watch. He's got a really funny voice. I don't know if he make fun of his dude.
He's got that Cockney.
It's like I could just sit in front of this guy and he could talk to me about like the dumbest thing in the world, like carpet or paint. I wouldn't care. I'd want to hear it. I'd want to hear every bit of it. But he was able to take that sound that people were spending thousands of dollars to get and squeeze it into a lot of really affordable amps, and we appreciate him for that. So thanks for checking us out.
Yeah.
Again, welcome to Studio 48 Signal Path.
I'm Cody. This is Brennan.
I'm Brennan.
And that's Ian back there.
They can't see me, but I waved.
And we hope you like what we did. We hope you like our little
we
video.
Hope you like it.